So we're here at Jenifer Greene's home, and she is going to be sharing with us. She's got all these amazing books. These are a sample of some of the books that she's written, and she is going to be telling us secrets, people, about the publishing industry. For all of you that want to know the down and dirty and how to get in or what to expect or what people go through, this is it. Hit it.
All right. What I write is a genre book, and I've written 88 or 89 of them for a long period of time. Genre is compared to literary. A literary book has no rules, no length, no rules, no constructed any way you want. Genre books are popular books. They sell well. They all are based on values. Genre books, if it's a Western, honor is the value. The guy is a loner. He believes in honor. He comes across undoubtedly a woman in trouble. He fixes it all for her and rides out alone again in the West. Okay, in science fiction, which is another genre, popular genre, not for the kids, but pretty much for the basic adults using a smaller book, it's one man or woman against the world. The conquering aliens or whoever it is, one person has to stand up for individuality and win. And that's what that value is about, that even one person can do that. Now, in suspense books or mystery books or just those two genres, the value inherent is that bad guys get what's coming to them and the right survive. There's always justice. And in the romance genre, I never liked that romance word, but never mind. The point is, though, that love has power, and that's a value in every book. It isn't all candlelight and, a private dinner and then a bunch of, it's about a whole circumstance around showing that real love, strong love, has the power to change and help people grow and solve problems. Okay, now some of the secrets I want to show you are just for fun. I have written all kinds of books. All the books here are in the romance genre, but they don't have much in common. This is a series of 3, a trilogy. It's called Secretive Stranger, Irresistible Stranger, and Mesmerizing Stranger. You can see they're kind of a darker cover, and that's because it's romantic suspense. But there's something holding them together, and that's why the titles are similar. This one was a series I did for the Desire line and for Harlequin. This is Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered. On the side, I called them Jock's Boys. Jock is the ghost, the continuing character in every story, and they take place in Maine. All those big houses. Yes, it's so fun going to Maine. Anyway, along the way, another type of genre this is thicker than the average, 280 word or 280 page novel. These are more, and this is always a deeper, more complicated conflict. Those are my favorite books. I absolutely love these. This is Broken Blossom, and these are secrets.
Have so far been under the title Jenifer Greene.
Yep, we'll come to that. And then I broke out to do what they call single title books, but they're still women's fiction. They still fall under the genre label. This one started with Blame It on Chocolate.
Oh!
Then Blame It on Cupid. Then Blame It on Paris.
Ooh.
So you can tell they go together from the covers.
Right.
They're longer. They're still in paperback. They're still fast reads. These are books I did for Avon. And actually I have more than that coming somewhere. But the point is, these are more...
Avon is a publisher.
Publisher, and they're more trying to sell to a...
Oh, how cute. They have holes in that.
Not holes, dear. It's supposed to be so you can see. And you can see it looks like a more younger contemporary woman theme. Okay. That's the woman most liked to, and the other one was Where Is He Now, based on when you get an invitation to your high school reunion and you don't want to go to see who that guy is. That doesn't sound too
So
serious.
that's a window into what's going to happen.
Where is he now? Yeah, what's going to happen? And that's the
Fun.
point. Okay. Now, another part of the romance genre is anthologies. And the publishers often do this one for Christmas, this one is for Mother's Day. I did the first one for Easter. And I'm just one of the 3 authors involved in those stories. But they sell really well because there's 3 stories in one. It's a good deal. And Christmas books always sell.
Oh, so they come packaged together.
That's the point.
Okay.
Exactly. Okay, now I have to show you some things, a couple more things. Just, this is my first book, Man from Tennessee. I was writing for Berkeley Joe, because they were the first one that's had the brilliance to snap it up and get me started. And then the only thing wrong with this one is the man isn't from Tennessee. But that's just to share with you that the author has no power over the title or the back cover copy. Other people write that who may never have read the book.
Right.
Okay, now Silver and Spice is another one of those that I wrote for Berkeley Jove under, what is her name? Jean Grant. That's my mom, my best favorite aunt's name. Set in Idaho's Silver Country. I really loved writing that book. And then the
Okay,
third...
so just to be clear, this one is under Jean Grant.
Yeah, so it's the first one.
Great.
I did 15 books under Jean Grant. Nobody wants to hear that. I just want to tell you the fun things about this. Okay, this is like the 3rd book I wrote. I wrote this for Dell Publishing. And you see it says Jessica Massey?
Yes.
They gave me that name without ever asking me.
Yeah.
Don't you think that's unfair?
I do.
I do too.
Jessica.
And I never, my characters, don't you call me Jessica. The characters look nothing like my characters.
Right.
Okay, that's what's to be expected. Okay, another genre type book, and again, this is popular fiction. This is called Montana Mavericks. It's copyrighted and owned by Harlequin. They had 12 books in a series, with 1 book coming out every month by a different author. Best place to be is the last place where you
Are you the last
I'm
place?
not saying anything. I'm just trying to share to you what this is about. So that is
That
another
looks like a
type.
Superman Lois Lane on the
I
bottom.
can't help that, and I never had any scene where anybody was taking off their clothes like that. Not in this deal. Anyway, these all, you can see how it spreads out. So,
Right.
okay, one more of this kind. This book is called Lucky, and this is the first book in the next line when that was developed. And the idea was taking not an ingenue, well, everybody isn't a virgin in every story, but more 32, more mature, 32 to 40 or whatever. So they're not just figuring out their first round of problems, and they're ready for a different change. And these are more serious. She marries a guy that she loves very much. She gets pregnant, which she wants very much, and their baby has a problem.
Oh.
And that creates a problem for her husband. That's not going to work. She's kind of looks, she's running away, doesn't she? I'm not telling any more about that either. Okay. I only want to show you this for one thing. I already tried to explain this, but this book is called Quicksand. I love the book. I don't know if you can see this ugly guy on the cover.
Okay.
My hero looks nothing like that.
Right.
And there's no pillar anyway in the story. It has
supposed
nothing
to
to
be a woman's
do.
legs that he's rubbing.
Look at those muscles. It has nothing to do with the poor guy. And I love this one, but anyway, all right. The only other thing I'll show you is this is my last one from a couple years ago. And you can see it's still paperback.
Sure.
It's not as small, and that's because it's going to fit in a different level when you go into your grocery store and see all the books. It's going to have more page presence because it's a little bit thicker. It's easier to read as well. And this is for Avon. I've already showed you some Avon books before. It's called Hideaway at Silver Lake. It's a Christmas book in a way. Okay, so here's the cabin that she rents to be alone on this holiday. And then it's set in Madison, Wisconsin, or outside there. I don't think there's too many mountains in Wisconsin. Maybe I'm mistaken, but where I researched it, it was a lot of forests and lakes.
Yes.
Okay, so they tried to fix it. So they tried to put in some trees and stuff. And they definitely put in the dog. But it's the same thing. When a publisher is doing the cover, you're either going to get the silly figures on the front cover so they don't have to pay any money for real people, or they just pay people to do
Make
that
art
with a little synopsis or something, and they don't actually have to read anything and probably never have a chance to. They're doing the best they can. So anyway.
Well, and this one does have your picture on it. See?
Yep.
So that's nice.
Okay, another thing is, well, no, I don't have another thing. I just want you to know, covers are not what they seem. Don't be seduced by the cover into thinking you'll like the book. If you see a knife dripping blood, you're pretty sure it's going to be a mystery with a death, a murder involved. But here, there's only a few with clutches between a man and a woman. They're not advertising that like the way they used to with the almost bare bosoms and that kind of thing. They're not doing that anymore. It's not going over well with people.
Well,
and I
because
agree
it's
with
not
that.
actually what's going on in the book.
Right, it's not.
And
it never
then,
has been.
And then it almost, some women might be embarrassed to have a boob clutching picture, and then the man.
Or wherever they are, wherever they're trying to read it, so they don't
Right.
want that kind of thing. And everything a publisher does is designed to sell to you, but it might be better if you understood what their motivations are, money. Not just that, but when they put a picture together, when they put together the back cover copy, that's what they're trying to appeal to, something they think you want. And each publisher has an identity, a feeling about what kind of book sells for their publishing house. Okay, you got any questions for me?
So when the translations go into other countries, do they still leave the same locations and all that intact? Or do they sometimes change some of
Okay, a new author is a little different than me because I'm an old timer, young as I am. But if I'm with a publisher, I will send them 2 or 3 proposals or synopses of different stories. And I will say, I want you to buy 2 out of 4 or something like that. Enough for a year's worth of work. They read that, and if they like the stories, they give me a contract. I get paid an advance against royalties, which is kind of silly words. I might get paid a third or a half at that time, and then another third when they get the manuscript and agree with it that it's ready to be published.
But this is only because she's established and that she's...
And the third part can be when the book comes out, but they usually do mine in 2 parts, which seems fair to me.
This is a very competitive industry, and it's hard for people to make money, especially new authors.
Very hard. And especially for women, it's always been hard. It's not as hard. It's a different world now with e-publishing and with Kindle and all that kind of publishing. But there was bigger money in it before when the book publishers were stronger. And
Right, well, people used to read more books.
I know.
Yeah. No, but how many languages are some of these books translated
Harlequin, of all the publishers, and there's many great publishers, not as many as there were, but still, they're good people. But Harlequin, by far, is the biggest publisher. And they sell to, I don't know how many countries, but I'm pretty sure it's about 21 different languages. And I've asked friends that I met online I'll send them an English copy and then a German copy, which I don't read. And I'll ask them to read both and tell me what's changed. And I'm always astonished at how you think your words will translate clearly. Humor doesn't translate.
Yeah.
Women's values are not the same around the world. Sometimes it's just words that change, like in British books, lift is the word for elevator. Like that, they're just word changes
Yeah, well,
like
that
that.
would be, it's probably as big of a deal.
So that's automatic. The German books have the most exotic, erotic covers that have nothing to do with the book. The guys kind of look like vampire-ish with a widow's peak, and the women come up with this lingerie I've never seen in a store. And it's nothing to do. Japanese books, on the other hand, I've had almost all of them, and back when in the beginning, they always had a picture of Washington, D.C.
Uh-huh.
And, I mean, the stories were set all over the country.
Right,
But that's how they did that.
That's how they identified it as the United States
An
book.
American book, right. American author, American book, and that these are romances. So each, no glass of wine was ever in a book in one of the Middle East countries. That's just a no-no. And there are different other ways. Russia, one time, I can't remember what they paid me. I think it was like $5,000 to do one book. And this has been a while and I'm not good with numbers. But that was just to see if it would sell, a romance type book would sell in Russia.
How did that do?
That was the deal. That's all the money I was going to get. And they didn't want it. That's it.
So you have no idea.
Then I had the choice, take it or not. And I said, sure. But I'll also tell you, when the Berlin Wall came down, who was that president? I can't remember. Ronald Reagan, I think. I was young. But anyway, when that wall came down, Eastern Europe almost had no book publishers except for academic, well, not even academic, political, and some textbook.
Yeah.
But they didn't have any popular fiction of any kind. One of the first books that came across their deal was 6 million copies I sold in the first 3 weeks.
Wow.
People were just
6
hungry
million.
for plain old books.
Wow.
So that was fascinating. Some of this is really a history. But I also found humor doesn't translate well, but people have different rules about men and women. And you would think there's still a few spanking scenes in England. Nothing in America is anything like that or is considered appealing. There are some, like Norway.
When you say spanking, are we talking about children?
No, I'm talking about your girlfriend.
Okay.
Well, I'm not talking about your girlfriend. I don't have a girlfriend, you don't have a girlfriend, but I'm saying in a different nature. No children are involved in those stories.
Okay.
It's somehow cute. Oh, you little fool. And then swap, and then she's in love. No, we don't do that in this country, but it's a base of something other people like. And other ones, and they take out quite a bit of the tenderness that we require for a hero and heroine in an intimate relationship. They kind of want, slam the door, let's go to it. And then the door slams. So you're not seeing anything except for what is considered a macho man.
Right.
And I never expected that. I always think our American values are what probably women share all over. We're talking about children and all the same things. But it's not quite that simple.
No.
And I was extremely, not bigoted, but I really didn't think we were all different. I thought women would be all the same with our shared interests.
Do we want to talk about the AI and how they're starting to come out with all these AI apps on the phone? And I've messed around with them, and the novels are terrible. Like you can type out your a little bit of your idea, and then it will generate a piece of artwork, and it will generate a story.
Or it will do as paper for a student.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And so, do we want to say anything about the lawsuit that you're involved in, or AI, or any of that?
I'm indirectly involved with one because a company who shall not be named, purchased or got copies of some books, including one of mine, and they wanted to use it to teach AI to write a book that way. to take a book that is successful and see if you can reproduce that just by using it as a framework. I don't think that's possible. I think AI can put sentences together and a plot and a story and characters, but you can't put voice, you can't put emotion, you can't put conflict with emotional content that would make any sense with just nouns and verbs and proper grammar.
Right.
So
if you told me to write a story about an orange sweater and you a story about an orange sweater, we'd have, in my nephew, you'd have three very different stories.
exactly. So there's no plagiarism involved here, but the author's work is individual, and that's why it sells.
It's just not right to take people's stuff and use their information and their copyright material without them knowing.
No, you can get prosecuted for that.
Right. Well,
But plagiarism isn't just taking a sentence; it's taking blocks of the work, and there are cases of that all the time. Although I haven't run into very often.
Now, how many times were you told to add a dog, or the book needs to have a dog?
When you send in either a synopsis or the finished book, then there are a series of editors you work with. The copy editor, the person who checks where every period and comma is, your editor who has the interest of the whole book at heart. And everybody gets a look-see at that before a finished version is put out, and then we all get to see it again. And in some books, I call them kind of the Hallmark books. They want a dog. There's something about a dog. They want natural-looking people, so to speak. The women probably all have longer hair in today's style. There's makeup. It's just not apparent, as in 5-inch long eyelashes and stuff. Less cleavage, more clean. And that's just when you see that on a cover or in a Hallmark movie when you're watching it.
Right. And
that's
how many of
meant
those
to appeal.
Hallmark movies were originated from books, or books came with them, and all those kinds of
I
things?
don't know the percentage, but I know many authors I know have been approached, and sometimes they like it well enough to pay like an amount of money to place a hold on it so nobody else can use it for 2 years, so they can figure out their schedule and if this is going to work or not. And then you're released, or they make the movie.
Right.
Okay. Some are done on a different basis. Nora Roberts must have made, I don't know, 10 or 15. They get power, though, over, and I don't mean that's wrong, but when you contract to do a movie, it's not the same medium.
No.
A visual medium is entirely different than words on a page. So they have to reserve the right to make changes.
Oh, for sure. Because you're not novelists are not script writers.
Darn right. And they don't know what it should be or how it should be worked out into scenes. They'll take the real book, and sometimes, like if you've watched Outlander on TV, Diana Gabaldon is the author there, and she worked with a whole bunch of other authors on Prodigy years ago to writing those. And the books don't totally follow her stories, but they can't.
No, they can't. You can't get it all in.
Even your pacing and stuff, they just can't do it the way a book is. So sometimes a movie's better than a book, sometimes the other way around.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this has been super interesting. I do really like these, the blame it on idea. That was kind of fun.
I love the idea too. That's their idea, not mine.
So how much of this actually had to do with chocolate? Was it in a chocolate store?
I nearly burned down my kitchen. I started out with cocoa beans, and you put them on as low a heat as you can for forever, and they melt down into that white, which is not actually chocolate, it's kind of white fat that tastes good. Okay, but it has to go on so long that it burned up.
Right.
Okay, so that almost cost a new stove.
So you basically made coffee. I mean, not coffee. We had probably made coffee
Cacao.
to go with
Yes,
the chocolate, but yes.
Okay, my idea is put as much research matters. It's not because someone's reading this to learn something, but I need to know as much as I can before, claiming a character's got it in their lives. I like to research. It's fun.
So I did a lot of research on witchcraft, and ghosts and stuff like that. So I think, which one?
Those three.
These are
Those
the
are
ghosts?
set in Maine. Haunted houses are up and down Maine, where ships were lost and all that stuff.
So how many of this book, for example, were sold?
In an ideal world, one came out, then the next one came out in 3 months, then the next one in 6. Then they were bundled and sold as a trilogy together. This book still gets sales.
Wow.
As long ago as that was. And I don't know how long ago that was.
So does anybody get rid of the ghosts? Do they move the ghosts on? Do the ghosts interact with the characters?
Well, and my ghost is Jock, and yes, he interferes with all 3 of them. That's part of the story.
Right.
And that if he wants to disappear, he has to have something that is resolved, and that involves all 3 of them. And I just had a ball. I have to say I'm not a really big believer in ghosts, but this was fun. This was for fun.
Right, this is for fun. And I guess, is there any other, just so you guys all know, we have piles of books in other rooms, but she just wanted to pick out a few interesting different types to illustrate. I'm sure everyone has all kinds of questions. And I can tell you that when I was a little girl, I would go over to Jenifer's house, and all of these covers would be all over the wall, and she'd say her husband put them up, and she'd say things like, the books have nothing to do with the covers. And really, I didn't believe her, because Jenifer doesn't know this.
I had children.
I didn't believe her. I just thought she said that. But as an older person now, I actually understand that you have little to no control over any of that.
You really don't. You need to know that.
Yeah. So anyway, I did as a kid, like my mom had some, and I did, sneak it out of the bookshelf and read a little bit, and my mom used to read them, and then she'd like tuck them, she'd hide them where she would read.
The surest way to get a kid want to read them.
Hide a book. Right. Well, that way she sort of hid them around so that she could, pick up a book wherever she was bored without having it clutter up the house. So
my daughter used to have sleepovers, and when the girls would come over as of maybe 6th or 7th grade, sometimes even bought one of my books, and I had not let my daughter read the books, which occurred to me as a little silly if all her friends are. It's not like, there's no pornography or anything like that, anything scary for a child.
No.
And part of the whole genre is about defining what a good man is. Mm-hmm. So it's not based on, love is not based on sexual attraction.
These books are not, what is that, Shades of Grey book?
No. Good grief, no.
No, there's a big difference, people. So these are just delightful reads. Can you talk to me about one of the books that has the most to do with the location integrated into the content that sticks out in your mind, or something that came from your experience, personal experience, maybe in a restaurant, or I know that you never make up a book about anyone. Never
use a real character. I never would. It's just not right. I never even use the name of someone if I can help it, if I know someone well with that name. Silver and Spice was set in northern Idaho, where I had a brother live for some time. And I researched silver country, silver mining, what was going on in northern Idaho, how that worked in. And it was just absolutely fun to research. A lot of books, like the chocolate one, I did recipes. If I had characters from another culture, I got cookbooks. You feel differently after you have a curry dish than you feel after having lasagna.
That's true.
It really is true. It's not like one is bad and one is good. Good food is good food. But I felt that added some authenticity. And I can't remember which one I said in Georgia, but I came home from Georgia with a bowl of dirt, red dirt, so I could smell that red dirt. And that would bring back what I'm trying to do. I would assign a song, a texture, a smell, and probably a piece of something like candy.
And so I happen to know that Jenifer is working on the last few pages of her next book.
Maybe. Hopefully.
Yeah, you're almost done.
Yeah.
And then she does the rough draft, and then you got the
Rewrite.
and then it gets sent off to have somebody make up a cover.
No, since I've had an agent for 40 years.
Okay.
A New York agent who's fantastic. And it goes to her first. And because at this point, I've been out of commission for a couple of years because I was hit by a truck. Anyway,
She was literally hit by a truck, and so
yeah,
was
it
her
was
dog.
not funny. But my agent will decide which editor we would like to work with, which publisher today, in today's market that's been changing so fast, would be the most interested in this kind of story. And she agreed with me when it first came to my mind that it would be fun, not heavy. There's some heavy things I would still like to write, but this is just something that hit me that I thought I could do and wanted to do. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping. But I've never, out of 89 books or whatever, believed my work was any good. I always am positive the draft is terrible and nobody will ever like it and it'll rule my life forever and they'll find out I'm an imposter. And you know, I'm getting pretty old here and I think I should get over this. I don't know what it is, but I could rewrite forever. I can revise.
Oh, well, that's my experience.
I love that.
That's my experience. Like I worked with an author, and I met her at 23, and it was a story about herself that was like an adaptation at 23. And so I was 23, so she wanted me to read it. And then I was probably, I don't even know, a good 10 years to 15 years later is when the book came out. So like,
wow,
she just kept rewriting it and rewriting it. And
but you have to stop.
And then the story just changed.
Of course it does.
It really, we have a dog under the table,
I
but
see.
The story, when you rewrite something that much and you
change it completely.
She did, and then she started changing stuff to, it was like, the story had, the fact that she had thrown in I Ching, but then it turned into, she just rewrote it and put I Ching in everywhere because she thought Chinese money would be good, and then it just
got worse.
It wasn't her story anymore. Do you know what I'm saying? To me,
I say to other authors, you could write
she could have
this book 20 years ago and 10 years ago and 5 years ago, and it'd never be the same book.
Well, in her case, I think it would actually be
experiences.
fun if she'd have published one of her earlier versions, and then she could publish the same book, like
with a different version.
With different versions.
Because you can only bring your own experiences to the story. You have to have a way to say, this is done, it's the best I can do.
Yeah, and you have to put a stop point, and I guess if we're going to give some advice to any author, at some point you have to stop being a perfectionist and just put it out.
Also, you don't want to seek approval from your best friends, your family, people you pay. I'm serious. You have to please two people, yourself and an editor who wants to deal with it. And you need her to love that. Her or him, I don't care which gender. But the need for reassurance is strong today in young people especially. New authors aren't necessarily young, but if they are, they're more... They just seem lonelier and more afraid to take a chance, to take a leap. And especially afraid to send something in and hear it's terrible. So rewrite it.
Well, that's because you're not supposed to throw balls at children anymore in the playground.
What is that about? We change these important things in our culture.
And then it changes our books.
Yes. Anyway, okay.
Well, thank you so much, Jenifer. I think that we will end on that. Also, I just want to invite everyone to check out her channel, and she has some lovely artifacts that we are going to highlight in some of the shorts and other videos, to stay tuned. And we've got a lot more to come, and we just want to thank you all for being here and say blessings from in Michigan.
Yes.
Okay, blessings.